A lot has changed over NBA history and playoff seeding, especially with the introduction of the play-in tournament. But did you know prior to the 2015-16 season, the NBA ensured division winners were guaranteed a top 4 seed in the conference playoff picture? This year, the Heat won the Southeast Division, but due to the play-in tournament, the Heat lost to the Hawks, and so standings-wise, they're slotted under the Hawks despite more wins. But the division titles are given based on purely the season record for each division and not including the play-in games. This is why despite Heat being slotted under the Hawks, even with more wins, they are slotted as second in the division here, but still won the Southeast Division title. To note, the SE means Southeast Division title clinched, TI means play-in clinched. This was the original NBA press release on this topic. As part of the modifications, the 8 playoff teams in each conference will be seeded in order of their regular season record. Most recently, every division winner was guaranteed a top 4 seed in its respective conference regardless of its record, but did not receive home court advantage if its playoff opponent had a better record. To emphasize, while the division winner would be guaranteed a top 4 seed in their conference, they would not get home court advantage if their playoff opponent had a better record. Not that it really mattered, especially for this Heat team that hasn't seen home court advantage throughout this playoffs anyways. But as the Heat won the Southeast Division, and if the rule to not automatically give precedence to division title winners guaranteed top 4 playoff seeds was still to exist this year, the way it had been throughout NBA history up to the 2016 playoffs, then the Heat would have been the 3rd seed in the East. This is the NBA standings if this rule was still in place this season. 1st seed Bucks, 2nd seed Celtics, 3rd seed Heat, 4th seed 76ers, 5th seed Cavaliers, 6th seed Knicks, 7th seed Nets, 8th seed Hawks, 9th seed Raptors, and the 10th seed Bulls. Let's do a quick thought experiment around how this playoff matchups would have been and played out. Play-in should roughly be the same. Bulls beat Raptors, only difference is Nets got swept by the 76ers, and this isn't the same team that got them to this record. And with one of the biggest contracts, Ben Simmons, not playing, I could see them losing to the Bulls. So the 7th seed will still be the Hawks, who we saw the outcome where Celtics won in 6 games, but the Bucks would have faced the Bulls in the first round. Bucks still likely would have won as they have in the past. The Heat would have faced the Knicks, which was a 2nd round matchup this year, but would have been the 3 versus 6 seed matchup if this rule was still in place. And let's just assume Heat win in 6 like what we saw. The 76ers would face the Cavaliers. Let's just assume the 76ers win, as they did take the 2nd round to 7 games while the Cavs only won 1 game this year's first round. Bucks would then face the 76ers, and the Heat would face the Celtics, which is this year's Eastern Conference Finals. Ultimately, the big difference is the Bucks would have made it farther, and their season wouldn't have been as big of a failure as it turned out to be, likely losing to the Heat or maybe even the Celtics in the conference finals. Interestingly, the West standings would have been the exact same as the current standings. The outcomes likely wouldn't be all that different though, except for the Bucks' path. It didn't matter what the record of the division winner was, which was technically a loophole for those teams that could focus primarily on just staying on top of their division and not winning as many games overall. Winning the division, no matter how easy, netted a potentially more favorable first round matchup. Let's see why this rule was removed though. From 2010 to 2015, the last playoffs with this rule still in place, 10 teams benefited off this rule. Utah Jazz in 2000, Sacramento Kings in 2003, New Jersey Nets and Los Angeles Lakers in 2004, Seattle Supersonics and Boston Celtics in 2005, Phoenix Suns, Denver Nuggets and the New Jersey Nets in 2006, Toronto Raptors, Miami Heat and Utah Jazz in 2007, Utah Jazz in 2008, Boston Celtics in 2012, and Portland Trail Blazers in 2015. That 2015 playoffs was the last playoffs where this rule was still in effect, but had possibly one of the most impactful implications. Portland was 51-31 that season, 4 games worse than both the Memphis Grizzlies and San Antonio Spurs. By claiming the Northwest Division, they were awarded the 4th seed, while Memphis and San Antonio were slotted 5th and 6th respectively. The Grizzlies would still prove superior in their first round matchup of Portland, easily winning in 5 games. San Antonio wasn't so lucky, having to face off against the LA Clippers in a matchup closer in stature to the Western Conference Finals. An emotional 7-game series went to LA in the final seconds of Game 7, ending the Spurs' chances at back-to-back titles. Many would even say the greatest first round series in NBA history. Both the Lob City Clippers and Spurs are title favorites going head-to-head in the first round. The Clippers seemed burnt out after that matchup alone and lost in the next round to the Rockets in 7, blowing a 3-1 lead. In a postseason bracket based solely on wins, Portland would take on the Clippers as the 6th seed. The Spurs and Grizzlies would battle for what would have been the 3rd time in 4 years as the 4-5 matchup. Assuming a win by LA still pitched them against the Rockets in the 2nd round, but a first round victory by the Spurs, considering their experience and success over Memphis in those years, would then have them face off against the Golden State Warriors, their eventual champions and that dynasty's first championship. So the question arose, why 2 teams as elite as LA and San Antonio were pitted against each other in the opening round? But this was just how the matchup worked out with this rule. Recognizing this flaw, the NBA changed the rule the following year, seeding playoff teams on record alone. Also keep in mind, division winners weren't even awarded home court over a team with more wins, just a right to face them as the higher seed. Thus the rule was abolished and the Heat today are a 8th seed. But in addition to all this, beginning with the 2004 season, with the addition of the 30th NBA franchise, the Charlotte Bobcats, the NBA realigned its its divisions. Each conference would have 3 divisions of 5 teams each, and the winner of each division was guaranteed a top 3 playoff seed, in which case this year's Heat team would have been a 3rd seed as talked about earlier. This would change slightly after the 2005-06 season. While division winners still receive automatic playoff berths, they are guaranteed a top 4 seed. There was a lot of modifications to this rule throughout, as prior to 2004, when the NBA was aligned into 2 conferences with 2 divisions each, the division champions were guaranteed the top 2 seeds. This meant that the top 2 teams in a conference could never meet until the conference finals, assuming they both make it to that round. Later, the NBA realigned its 2 conferences into 3 divisions each. The top 3 seeds would now be reserved for division champions. However, this meant that if the top 2 teams by record in a conference were in the same division, they would be seeded 1st and 4th. Assuming no first round upsets, this raised the potential scenario where the top 2 teams in the conference would face each other in the conference semifinals instead of the conference finals. In the second year of this format, the 2005-06 NBA season, the 2 teams with the best records in the Western Conference, the San Antonio Spurs and Dallas Mavericks of the Southwest Division, did just that. This turn of events led to the playoff formatting being criticized, and the NBA went back to the drawing board for more modifications. In August 2006, the NBA announced a rule change. Beginning in the 2006-2007 season, the top 4 seeds in each conference will be seeded according to their win-loss totals, guaranteeing that the top 2 teams in each conference cannot meet until the conference finals. In summary, prior to the 2005 playoffs, this Heat team would have been the 2nd seed. If this was the 2006 playoffs, Heat would have been the 3rd seed. If this was the 2007 up to and including the 2015 playoffs, this Heat team would have been the 4th seed. Since then is what we see today, with the Southeast Division title winning Heat as the 8th seed, who barely made it through the play-in tournament and now finds themselves in the conference finals. It's definitely interesting to think about how things would have played out if this division title precedence rule was still in place. Let me know in the comments if you think this rule should still be in place. After all, it did give some value for division titles, which nobody really cares about anymore. Let me know how you think the playoffs would have played out if the seeding played out that way. Check out my other video about how this playoffs turned out to be the first time in NBA history that every possible unique seed was represented in the 2nd round.